Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creative Empower's latest webinar called Empowering Black Excellence in Alberta. My name is Jenny Steele, and I'm a host, producer, actress, and voice artist here in Calgary, and I am honored to be your moderator today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we cannot wait to get our discussion started. But before we begin, we'd like to mention that Creatives Empowered is a virtual nonprofit that serves all racialized talent within the colonial boundary of Alberta. We acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional treaty territories of 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, along with the Métis Nation regions of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We acknowledge that we are on stolen land. These are the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Specifically in Treaty 6, the Cree, Dene, Hanishinaabe, Saulteaux, Nakota Iska, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples. In Treaty 7, the people of the Blackfoot Confederacy and Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the people of Stoney Nakoda in Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley. And in Treaty 8, the Cree, Deneta, Deneza, Dene Sulanea, the Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, and Inuit peoples. We express with the utmost of respect our deepest gratitude for the manner in which these traditional peoples have honored the treaties. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we are committed to doing the same in how we live, work, and play on their traditional lands. Now, every day is a day to acknowledge Black excellence, but today we celebrate Black History Month by looking at how we can empower Black artists, creatives, and their work here in Alberta. And we've got an amazing panel lined up for you to discuss, so I'd like to now introduce them. First, we have Nazanin Knight, who is a writer, director, and the executive producer of 1844 Studios, a film production company dedicated to fostering international artistic collaborations and exposing striking stories that tell us about the universality of human emotion despite diversity of human experience. Welcome, Nazanin.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, good. We're so happy to have you. We've also got Ado Kemka, who is a musician with a distinct dark timbre and in-your-face vocals. Based out of Calgary, Alberta, her sound is inspired by late 90s and early 2000s pop, rock, and R&B. With the support of Calgary Arts Development, she's currently working with Toronto-based producer James Bunton on a guitar-driven pop rock record that will be released this fall. Thank you for joining us, Ado.
Thank you very much for having me.
We also have Toyin Oladili, who is a motivated, creative, and results-focused arts professional and project manager and an advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion. She is the founder of the Immigrant Council for Arts Innovation, a nonprofit society that aims to remove barriers for newcomers and immigrants who are seeking to continue careers in the arts in Alberta. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
We're so happy to have you. And finally, we've got Donna Noren, who's an aspiring cinematographer with an adventurous spirit and a freelance photographer who is passionate about capturing people of color and showcasing them in their best light. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled to have you all. Now, with the introductions out of the way, I'd like to get started. So just a reminder to all of my panelists that these questions are for everybody. So please jump in when you feel, or feel free to add on to somebody's answer. And to our attendees, if you have any questions, put them in the comments column to the right of our screen, and I'll do my best to get to as many as I can during our discussion. So to begin, enough from me, let's get started. Now, first off, how do you define Black excellence? Nazanin, why don't we start with you?
Black excellence to me is a celebration of Black ingenuity, talent, resilience, and achievement. And of course, Black ingenuity, talent, resilience, and achievement is always there. It's the celebration part that matters. And hopefully it's not always during just Black History Month. I think the community can come behind and support Black excellence.
Absolutely. Well said. Donna, would you like to add to that?
Oh, thank you very much. I think it's also about embracing being unapologetically Black. And so, because what Nazanin said was excellent about a celebration. And I would like to add that I think it is about being unapologetically so and embracing who you are and not making yourself small to make others feel comfortable.
Agreed, 100%. Absolutely. Toyin, how about you?
Absolutely. I think Black excellence is understanding and accepting the fact that Black creatives, Black people are part of the fabric that makes up every city, especially a province, Alberta, we're part of the fabric, and recognizing that we contribute to that immensely is one big one for me. Just to add to that,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Yeah, when I think of Black excellence, I tie that to themes that are coming up for me lately. One is cautious fearlessness. And for me, that is the cautious part is moving through the world with the awareness that you may not be necessarily wanted or welcomed in every space, but the fearless part is I'm going to do it anyway. This is my dream, this is my mission, and yeah, that's those are my thoughts.
I agree completely. Fearlessness for me is a big standout word, because I think even in my industry, you know, that my career is constantly evolving. But at 40, I thought, let's just take a different direction, and tried acting. And it was terrifying. People are like, you're starting out acting in your 40s. And I was like, why not? And it's been one of the best experiences for myself and for my kids and peers to see representation in my industry, and it's been exhilarating. Have I failed many times? Absolutely, but it's having that fear to just go for it that is so rewarding. So I like everyone's input there. It was perfect. Now, Otto, let's continue with you. Tell us about your personal journey as an artist and creative.
Yeah, so my personal journey, I always go back to childhood and being this kid with a dream who loves music, first generation Canadian, being immersed in popular culture, and as a Black woman, not being sure what my place is in the musical landscape, whether I could do what I wanted being in this particular body. And so a lot of my artistic journey was developing that confidence to say that I am talented and I am committed to learning, and who are the people along the way that will see and hear me and help me bring this vision to life. Um, so I've been here and there trying to figure out, you know, this recording process with as far as the music part of what I do. And I'm finally at a place where I was writing, because you know you're always applying this stuff, writing a bio, and saw that, wow, you know, my first recital as a singer songwriter was all the way in 2016, and only now in 2023 do I feel like the pieces are coming together in a way that is super meaningful, and feels true to me, and feels like I'll be able to say what I have to say with the right support.
Now, you said 2016. That's 7 years. Was there something along that way that you feel like projected you to where you want to be? Was there like a pivotal moment that you kind of felt it all come together?
Um, I don't know if it was one particular moment, but in that time of like working on my bounce back muscle, it's just about so I do music and I write as well. And a part of finding my voice was Afros in the City, being a part of a collective of Black people who are wanting to share their stories unapologetically, and taking a writing and editing role there, and developing that speaking out muscle. So that would be a milestone, I'd say. And there's so many different, so many other experiences, I would say, that successes here and there that build upon each other. And when the right people or circumstances come together, all the learning that you've done comes together in a really nice way.
Fantastic. Nazanin, can you share a little bit about your journey?
Yes, you know, I think unlike Ado, my journey doesn't go as far back as to childhood. Although I was always a creative sort of a child. I was into music, I was into writing, but I had never taken it seriously as a career path. You know, partially because you don't see many people like you know, in behind camera as a director, as a screenwriter. I didn't grow up with those sorts of role models around me, and so I never saw it as a real opportunity for me growing up. But you know, I would say I had a real change in my mindset when I got the chance to serve at the Baha'i World Center in Haifa, Israel. And the Baha'i faith speaks about the importance of the arts in contributing to the discourses of society and creating transformational change from the grassroots. And sort of towards the end of my period of service at the Baha'i World Center, I was really praying and reflecting about how I could impact the discourses of society in a meaningful way. And before that, you know, I had done my master's in countering organized crime and terrorism. So it had nothing to do with film and television. But in that moment of prayer, film came to my mind as a medium for creating transformational change in our society. And you know, after I moved back from Israel, it was about 5 years ago, came back to Edmonton, and that's when I started my film production company, 1844 Studios, and haven't looked back. We've just been, you know, it's been growing really fast, and we've had the opportunity to work with so many talented and inspirational artists in Edmonton that I have no regrets. It's been an amazing journey.
I love hearing that. And I love that you shared that. We have a similar backstory. Same thing. I didn't have any background in film and television. I have a biological science degree. And when I finished, I ended up just taking a year off and kind of fell into TV through my dance background. But same thing, a completely different path, but no regrets. I feel like we all end up where we're meant to be, and it's about timing and opportunity. And it's nice to hear the same thing that happened to you. So congratulations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Donna, can we hear your story?
Well, it when I reflect on now that I'm a photographer, it seems that that's what I've always should have been doing. But I actually, so I started out always having a camera in my hand, but I went into administration. I worked for the government for a while. And but I always had that side of me about wanting to take pictures and capture moments, and especially wanting to create moments with Black women and other women of color, and even marginalized groups as well. And creating stories and representation was always a part of it. But it was actually in a moment where I was spending so much time working, and I had kids and I wasn't seeing them. And that just because my spouse and his job, with him working so much, that I decided to pursue photography, and at the same time, you know, be at home with my kids. And so that's how my journey started in photography. And so I started at Grant McEwen, taking pictures, and I never looked back. Yeah, so that's a bit of my story.
Fabulous. And the work-life balance, it sounds like photography allows you to do that.
Indeed.
Yes, good. Wonderful. And Toyin, we'd love to hear about your personal journey.
Absolutely. Very excited to share. And I'm always looking for opportunities to share also, because it would there might be just someone like me out there. Well, I think mine is very similar to that of Ado. Well, I have always known that I would be an artist all my life, like from when I was a child. From when I was about 7, I luckily had a friend who was bolder. I wasn't very bold, but she was bold back then, and she would stand in front of the class and in school and just tell everybody how good I sounded and how she wanted me to, sing for the class. And I never did until I think I was in high school. And my school got a chance to, and this is back in Nigeria, to do a radio tour once in support of unity in Nigeria, because Nigeria was going through a law. We had just come out of the military era, and boom, they were just looking for kids that that had a very loud voice. For some reason, that was what they called it. And a lot of people in my class they were just like, "Hey, have you heard Toyin's voice?" And boom, that was how I started singing in that theater show. It was a musical theater piece, and I got a chance to also act, to perform on stage. It was the first time, and we also went on radio and toured Nigeria. I was a kid, I was very young, but it was an opportunity to kind of see different people, meet different people from different tribes. And Nigeria has over 250 tribes, according to Wikipedia. So it was a fun activity for me. And that was how we started. And I never looked back since then. Since then, I have been involved in different things. I have produced albums for people. I've been in films. Back in Nigeria, I've been in stage productions and music and dance, different things. I kind of always express myself based on wherever I find myself artistically. I also would go ahead to have a degree in French language and literature, which also exposed me to a lot of theatrical stuff from that world. And I had a minor in performing arts also in the university. So it's like all my life I've always been around performers, actors, visual artists, and then I started curating back then towards just shortly before I got to Canada. And then boom, 2017 I came here, and I've just been very lucky and privileged to continue my practice here one way or the other. So that's my
Fascinating.
story.
And it sounds like you have your friend to thank for bringing out your artist that one day in school.
I know, right?
Wow, well, very grateful for her for bringing out your artist, and now you can share it with the rest of the world.
Exactly.
All right, Toyin, I'll have you continue. How
Mhm.
can Alberta's industry and cultural sector empower Black artists and creatives?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very good question. I one very strong way of supporting and empowering Black creatives is not only, so the first obvious thing would be like support them through funding, right? Yeah, that's true. But also be a part of their professional development, right? A lot of people have privileges that people of color, Black people, don't have. If you identify someone in your community who is trying to, or around you, who is trying to be an arts manager or an actor or whatever it is they're trying to be, support them, lend a helping hands, refer them, mention their name, put them in your show, and pay them well, especially if they're coming up for your audition, they're coming up for prepare opportunities that would benefit them. So don't put them in a box, because they can do a lot of things. Give them a chance to express themselves and show up when they're doing things. And show up could mean different things. Showing up could mean different things. It could mean literally holding their hands through the process. It could mean physically showing up. It could mean providing resources for them. It could mean recommending them to other people who are doing amazing things. So that way you would definitely empower them and put their story also in what you do. Don't kind of like segregate, but bring them together with the community, because that's empowering on its own.
Yeah, many different ways to show your support. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Nazanin, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think that was a great point by Toyin. For me, I can speak more towards independent film production, and in particular, I want to sort of zoom in on development funding. There's many stages during which you could support a Black artist project, but development is sort of that critical piece that allows Black filmmakers to own and control their own IP. And I think one of the things that has been missing in our funding and support structure is funding for slate development. That really allows Black-owned companies to develop and not be so concerned about making mistakes, because at that development stage you can make mistakes, you can learn, you can still alter the course of your project. But building up a strong slate that then we can export to different markets, I think that's something that's missing and needs to be emphasized in the Albertan film industry.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that you emphasize at the development stage, that's where it's still okay to make mistakes. As a producer, that's what we deal with all the time. It's like, this is where we kind of sift through it all and figure out what works and what doesn't. So we're all human, right?
That's right.
Yes. Okay. Ado, would you like to comment on this one?
Yeah, so I think of course, funding, training opportunities, opportunities to experiment. I also think about bridging the gap between parents, particularly those of first gen immigration kids, and bridging that gap by informing parents of Black communities, BIPOC communities, of what the possibilities are within the creative sector, so that when your kid comes up to you and is saying, this is what I want to do, it doesn't seem like this far-fetched, elusive dream. And information, so that to get parents on their kids' side, and to help them understand how they could better support them to pursue their dreams, so that they get a good head start. That's what I would say.
Fantastic. I agree. And Donna?
Hello. Um, I was thinking about this, listening to all these wonderful answers. Thank you so much, because it's given me things to actually think about as well. But I think in terms of really building atmospheres, if we're that are toxic free, so toxic free, empowering atmosphere where people can thrive, right? And also, to complement that would be training, training opportunities. For instance, as a woman, as a Black woman who wants to be behind camera and to be a cinematographer, you need to produce reels, and in order to do that, you need opportunities. So providing training that might lead to opportunities, so that it is so that we are able to put ourselves out there, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Thank you, Donna. And I'm going to have you continue, Donna. So my next question is, what are the barriers to empowering Black excellence in Alberta?
Well, I think that the barriers come with not addressing our mental health, because that's where it starts, right? And so if we do not have if we do not focus on our mental health and take care of it, then it becomes a barrier to Black excellence. And because racism and misogyny and homophobia and queer antagonism and ableism, all these things are a barrier to Black excellence, because while we're trying to succeed, we already have to deal with these layers of challenges that we face. So, and if we don't deal with them, then these hamper our ability to thrive, right, and to live our best life.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Well said. Ado, would you like to add to that one?
Yeah, and I would say for the non-Black people in the room, Black excellence, I think that term, for me anyways, is kind of a reclamation of something that has been taken from us. Feeling, being in a room and feeling like we don't have anything to contribute, or being undermined and that kind of thing. And so Black excellence is that making a statement that we are fully capable, we have ideas, we have visions that are worth exploring and considering. And so I think a barrier would just be that mindset of feeling threatened, and knowing that there is space for everyone if we work to create that space. And yeah.
I like that. There's space for everyone. Exactly. Yeah, Toyin.
I am definitely building up on that. There's space for everyone. And you don't have to be afraid of the Black person. Like, let them thrive, like let them do their thing. I've been in situations where I don't know, maybe because I'm a woman, maybe because I'm Black, people try to undermine the value of what I bring to the table, or the value of what I do, maybe in order to make themselves bigger, or maybe in order to get a chance to, maybe it looks weird to them that someone like me is doing the kind of things that I do. So I've been confronted a few times when, and it's, unfortunately, most times I'm probably not prepared for the question myself, and it comes as a shock, and I'm like, what am I supposed to say? So that, be comfortable working or relating with us, and let people just thrive. It is a huge barrier when you try to poke holes, or you try to make it look like it is, the things we do are not powerful or are not bringing enough value to the community, just because you wish you were doing it. There is enough space for everybody to actually thrive. So when you see someone who is doing amazing things, dancing, acting, whatever it is that we do, let them be and exist and be happy together with them. You don't have to look for what they are doing wrong, or how they are doing things in a wrong way, or in a way that is different from you. Just be there in the space and enjoy together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Final thoughts.
Yes. Thank you. Nazanin?
Yeah, there's so many amazing insights from all the panelists, and I totally agree that creating those spaces where Black filmmakers, Black artists are welcomed, not afraid of, of the microaggressions that they're going to face within that space is very important. Um, but I also wanted to throw it back to sort of that definition of Black excellence that we talked about at the beginning. And it's not just Black ingenuity, talent, resilience, and achievement, but it's the celebration of those things. And not being seen is one of the biggest barriers to Black excellence. Not being celebrated is one of the biggest barriers to Black excellence. I get a lot of outreach from producers who want to work with Black talent, and they come to our production company looking for folks saying, we don't know who's out there. We want to work with them, but we don't know who is out there. Um, and then I think about how many networking events that the industry members go to, and they don't see, enough Black participants in that room. And that sort of stems from organizations not creating welcoming environments for Black artists, and not specifically doing outreach within Black communities. So if we don't know who is out there, and the Black talent is not being seen and not being celebrated fully, and not being fully welcomed within networking spaces, I think these are some of the leading barriers within our film community in Alberta.
I do. I agree. And then my next question is almost the opposite of my previous question. Now, representation in almost every industry has become a priority, but not all creatives are looking for true collaboration. How can you spot the individuals or projects that are just looking to check that box and nothing else? Let's start with you again, Nazanin.
Sure, sure. I think one practical red flag you get as a Black artist is when a funding deadline is approaching and someone reaches out to you and says, "We would love to collaborate," but that there was no pre-existing relationship. And that diversity is a criteria of a lot of these funding applications. So that's something that you often get, and it feels very tokenistic. It feels like that person is not seeing you for the creative you are, but using you to advance their project, and that can be very hurtful. So I would caution other producers and creators to really reach out to those folks with whom you have a pre-existing relationship, someone whose project you understand and can really get behind, and not just think about how they can support your project, but how could you be of support to their artistic work that they've been laboring away to create. So those are just a few thoughts on my mind.
Yes, fantastic. Donna?
Hello. Um, I would say that it's you have to look and see if it's performative, right? So if it is being done whether it is performative to tick a box for diversity or to soften any kind of guilt that any kind of guilt that is felt, um, you know, I call it colonial guilt. So that guilt that is felt, I think then I think that's a red flag. Or where you are invited, but your voice is not really being heard. You are just there to fill a slot, but when the voice of the Black person or the BIPOC individual is being, when they want to have space is not really held for them.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Thank you, Donna. Adam?
Yeah, I'll kind of echo a bit of what Donna said about being heard. You can tell in their communication with you from how attentive and thoroughly they respond to your ideas, emails, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Toyin?
Absolutely. I get a lot of this from through the Immigrant Council for Arts Innovation. Like people would always send us email to give maybe support letter for their project. And then like it's the last minute, like Shabana mentioned, it's like, would you mind to collaborate with us here? Or would you, and it's clear you would see it from like this, I just said, email, the way they communicate. Is it performative? Are they listening to what you're saying? If you say three things in an email, do they intentionally ignore two and just respond to one that they kind of resonate with? Those things, and those two might even be the things that would mean respect for your community. Do they intentionally, or maybe act like they're not seeing things that you've said before, and they just make it look like, oh, we just didn't know, and things like that. And when you talk, do they hear you? Do they actually understand what you're saying? Those are the things that you want to watch out for. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, Toyin, I'll have you continue. On the other end, what does real allyship and support look like to you in your experience?
Is that for me?
Yes, that's for you.
Sure. I wasn't sure. Yeah, standing in the gap. Also, being present and actually being supportive, being real in how you establish these relationships with these communities, and also ensuring that it's very organic, so it's not forced. Allyship should be organic. It shouldn't be something that someone is doing just because there is a particular reason, but actually naturally, organically forming these relationships and understanding each other's needs, and how you can both work together in a very healthy way. Those that's comes first for me.
Fantastic. Good.
Thank you.
Donna?
Oops, sorry. There we go. Um, I would say that the person that you're not being spoken over. So you are being listened to, and it is the person of color, the people of color that are leading the discussion, and not the other way around, so that the fight is not co-opted, or the idea. And when I say fight, I do not necessarily mean like a physical battle, but whatever challenge that we're trying to overcome, or whatever wonderful event that we're trying to celebrate. For instance, Black History Month. This, if we're people are working in true allyship, then it's then it shouldn't be the allies leading the discussion and taking away the voice of the people of color, or in this case, in the example that I gave, Black History Month.
Mm-hmm. Needing to be heard. Yeah, absolutely. Nazanin?
Yeah, I think it's very much related to what Donna and what Toyin shared already, about making space for the Black creatives to lead the discussion. I also think, sometimes partnerships are absolutely critical, and not sometimes, much of the time in the film and television industry. Especially if you're an emerging producer, you'll ask to be partnered with someone who has a little bit more experience than you in the film industry. And oftentimes, those experienced companies are not Black owned companies. Oftentimes you're going to get partnered with companies that are owned by Caucasians, and it's going to happen. And that relationship can be a really wonderful relationship, or it can become a really toxic one. And I think what makes it a wonderful relationship is when the production company that you focus on collaborating with, they give their allyship in areas that they can contribute to, but don't overstep in the areas of the story that comes from, a Black voice. So I think in the areas of business affairs, in legal, in the management of the production, those are areas where they can definitely mentor and support, a Black creative. But in the area of telling a story that's centered in the Black community, having too many creative notes or overstepping in that area might not be appropriate. So I think giving space for that creative to come from the voice of the person from the community who's telling the story is very important.
Yeah, space and boundaries. Otto.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with everything everyone said. Allyship has to be genuine, or else it feels not so great. What I'll contribute is, and it kind of ties into points that were made in previous questions, taking care of your interactions with people. You don't have to be friends or with everyone, but taking care of your interactions with people in terms of striking a balance between seeing that person for the individual that they are, but also understanding their history. So.
Mm-hmm. And I want to add to that, Addo, is that one of the biggest things I've learned, I'd say probably just in this past year, is that it's also okay to say no. And that, that, like you said, you don't have to be friends with everybody in the industry. And that was hard for me because I think growing up, I've always been a people pleaser. It's that peace of mind, like this project just doesn't quite feel right. You need to go with your gut and just, you'll know when the time is right. And so I agree. You don't have to be friends with everybody. Otto, I'll continue with you, please, if that's okay. How can the Black community empower itself?
By collaborating, again, back to the idea that there's space for everyone as long as we support each other and fill in the gaps for each other, whether that's emotional support, opportunities, learning, and as far as empowering yourself as well, being super intentional about who's on your team. For me, that would be, producer to mentorship to therapists to good friends that can who can remind you who you are, but also let you know what you need to work on. And yeah.
Surrounding yourself with the right people to empower and lift you up.
Exactly.
Yes. Toyin?
Absolutely. I think get as much professional development as you can get. So be prepared because opportunities would come. But if you do not know enough, it might be to your disadvantage. Of course, increase your knowledge. Also, know what your rights are. So when people offer you something and they say, "Oh yeah, we're going to offer you this," you would be able to know that, okay, this is not equitable. This is not what other people are being offered. Why am I being offered that? You need to have those backup information for yourself, and network, right? Network, understand that nobody, especially from your community, network and be willing to collaborate, like Ado mentioned, and be very flexible, be very willing to learn, and be your own cheerleader, first of all. Yeah. Final thoughts. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. Nazanin?
Yeah, I completely agree that networking and finding those collaborations are really important for empowering the Black community from within. Um, I also wanted to add in there, because we've done a lot of research about networking events, and being able to buddy up and go together with someone who has the same background as you, someone who understands you and your story, someone who can be your cheerleader at a networking event and help you make introductions is also very important. So something as simple as going to, a screening with a friend from the Black community can make a big difference in terms of how comfortable and welcome you are within that space. So, especially if you have a little bit more experience in the film community and have that networking and can really help with, social weaving. I think it's something that, why not go with an emerging filmmaker from the Black community and really help them make the connections. I think that's another way, a simple way that the Black community can empower itself.
So simple, but so effective. Donna, final thoughts on that question?
I think building networking and building relationships, whether that be professional, but also personal. We really do need each other. I cannot tell you what an amazing feeling it is to be able to speak to someone in the community, like for instance, like Nazanin. She's fantastic, by the way, with Nazanin about things that happen, things that go on, feelings, building, so also building friendships. Also giving space and understanding how sometimes some of our anti-blackness. So, for instance, I mentioned certain things like misogyny and other things that are barriers. And I think looking in that within ourselves so we don't exclude other community members as well.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move on. Now, everyone here has kind of a bit of a different background and have different journeys. So can you tell us about different Black talent that you've connected with or worked with along the way? So why don't we start with you, Toyin?
Black talents that I've worked with along the way, different amazing people. I've had the opportunity of meeting so many people in the society, in the communities. I arrived here in 2017 from meeting people like Lanre Ajayi, the director of Ethnic Festival. It's been an amazing mentor for me. I've recently met an amazing artist from Australia. Her name is Diane. She partook in the Immigrant Art Mentorship Program that we have at the Immigrant Council for Arts Innovation. She was amazing. In the last cohort, we also had an amazing musician, Perpetual, very amazing talent. I have had the privilege of working with different people, but those are just a few that I can, remember from top of my head. And there are those that have mentored me also. I've been able to meet Kizzy Sutton. She was the director for the Calgary Society of Independent Filmmakers. So yeah, different people, amazing people that I've had contact with in my journey, and still building till now. Those that have mentored me and those that I've worked with and those that I'm currently mentoring also.
Fantastic. How about you, Nazanin?
Donna, Donna for sure. And she's amazing. And although she says aspiring cinematographer, she is a cinematographer with an amazing vision. So if you don't know about her work, please check it out on Ambient Shade. I've also had the opportunity to work with amazing actors like Cami Norbaum, Charlene Smith, amazing folks behind the camera like Marlon Parnell, Tristan. Oh gosh, I can't remember his last name. I'll post it afterwards. And Jared Sanchez. These are folks that if you don't know about them, please find them. They're amazing talents, and I just feel so blessed to have been able to work with them.
Fantastic. Otto?
My first mention will be Apiao Akwai, visual artist that I recently met here in Calgary. Her work is super striking. Bethel Affenwork, the executive director of the Alcove I'm just amazed by the community building that she's done with alongside the Alcove team, and my mentor Tabo, Kay the Chosen, um, just brilliant, brilliant. As far as super receptive, giving feedback, expanding the opportunities or sorry, possibilities and ideas for ways to get things done. So yeah.
Before I move on to Donna, I just have to say too, it's just so nice when you guys are mentioning each of these individuals' names, all of your faces light up, which just and bring a smile to your face, which just shows how much you respect and admire these people. So I just had to quickly mention that because you're all lighting up. Donna, I'll finish with you.
I, you know, as a photographer here in Edmonton, unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity to work with a lot of Black people until recently. So, Nazanin as well, and which has been fantastic. Many of the people that Nazanin mentioned, Marlon would be one of them as well. Um, and so, and then there's Val. Um, so Valencia Pepe, she's an actress and a director. So I've had a chance to photograph her, and I've worked with other models, other models, other Black models. So I'm really looking forward and trying to build, working with more Black creators and building that community and networking.
Fantastic. And in case you guys missed anyone, feel free to add more names in the comments section just to the right of the screen, and that way audience members can see them. Fantastic. Okay, now we kind of touched on this a bit earlier in our chat, but how do you yourself empower yourself as a Black artist and creative? Let's start with Donna. Let's start with you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
So how do you empower yourself as a Black artist and creative?
Oh, wow. It has been quite the journey. I've taken on a journey of how to empower myself. But I think where I am now is to surround myself with people that are honest but not toxic, to help me really be honest about my photography and the work that I do. I also sing and dance on a regular basis at home, and hopefully with my kids, whenever they decide to. Hang out with mom. So I do that to actually empower myself as well. Is to do things outside of photography, and do things outside of the field. Like I said, sing and dance and read, and yes, and surround myself with people who are going to be supportive and honest, but not toxic, and believing that photography brings me so much joy, and working in the arts brings me so much joy that I will not give up, because something that brings me so much joy is very empowering.
Fabulous. Have you recently just moved to Edmonton then, Donna?
No, so
No?
I've
Okay.
been in Edmonton because my husband is an Edmontonian.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
Okay.
And so I've been here for about 18 years. I
Wow.
lived in Montreal before.
Okay.
I lived in
Wow. Fantastic.
Ottawa and New York. So I've had a little bit of some different experiences. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay. Nazanin, how about you? How do you empower yourself as a Black artist and creative?
For me, it goes back to my origins in the film industry. It's prayer, it's seeing the end in the beginning, and that I think helps you get over different stumbling blocks, different hurdles, and then reading my reality and constantly um, finding a path towards my long-term goals. I think those are the main things that help me through.
Fantastic. Otto?
Yeah, so for me, that would tie to, again, the idea of being super intentional about who it is you let into your circle, being super intentional about unlearning internalized anti-Blackness, consistently rejecting and affirming yourself, and just surrounding yourself by positive messaging, and also being aware of like the realities of the world.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Toyin.
Absolutely. I very intentional. Like I just said, I'm very sensitive to highly sensitive. So I just don't bring anyone around me. I protect myself a lot. I'm always careful with my mental health. I want to make sure that I'm very positive in everything that I do. I also do a lot of networking. I do a lot of professional development. I'm always learning. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always reading up, Googling random things, and taking classes here and there as much as I can. And also taking very good care of myself, checking in to make sure I'm okay here. And that's the best way I can be to be myself for the community. So
I couldn't agree more. And that's something, I don't know if it was the pandemic or COVID, but taking care of myself and my mental health has become my number one priority, because at the end of the day, if you're not functioning, my kids aren't, my family isn't. And then also pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I found, I think same thing when the world shut down, I was like, you know what, life is too short. What am I waiting for? Give it a go. If you fail, at least you can say you tried. And so I think I've just become a lot more ambitious with different things I want to try. And if I fail, that's all right. But at least I can show my kids, Mom gave it a go, and we'll see what happens after that.
Can I just say that is awesome? Just,
Oh, thank
it's
you, Don.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Well said, Jenny.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Donna. Okay, now speaking of little young people, what's your advice to young emerging Black artists and creatives? Toyin, let's start with you.
get a mentor. Get a mentor so that you don't have to go through some of the things that they have been through, and you can learn from them, and you can be conscious of who you are, because your mentor might have been through some very uncomfortable situations, and they will tell you about it, so that when it happens to you, you're prepared. A lot of times I find that so many things that have happened to me, if I was like a bit more prepared, I probably would have been able to handle it better. So get a mentor, and read up. Always find opportunities to read. Network. I love to emphasize that. Network all the time, and just believe in yourself and just go for it.
Yes, exactly. Well said. Otto?
I would say that for those who are in a position where maybe they don't have a lot of support, or they're not sure if pursuing a creative path is for them, I think if you stick to it, if you're persistent, you're talented, you stay read up on your field, industry, developing your skills, eventually people are going to start respecting the hustle.
Absolutely. Donna?
Um, Step outside of your comfort zone. This is absolutely it, even at my age, that's where I am as
Mhm.
well. So I'm going to say absolutely step outside of your comfort zone, as long as it's not going to harm you long term, right? We want to make sure that we're safe and we're guarding our mental health. But definitely step outside of your comfort zone, have a little fun,
Yeah.
enjoy yourself, smile, laugh a bit, live a little, live a bit as well, and network, right? Don't be
Mhm.
afraid. Talk to people. You never know what you can learn, and absolutely be a lifelong learner. Enjoy the journey. The race, not really like it seems like a race, but it's not, right? Got to enjoy the journey too, right? It's a
Yes,
constant thing.
exactly. Nazanin?
I totally agree in that it's a lifelong journey of learning, and I think professional development and learning is very, very important. But I would say um, sometimes, don't get discouraged by not getting those green lights, not getting the yes right away, and don't wait to get hired. The best way to learn is to do things yourself. And if you don't get your first project funded, or if you don't get hired as the director of a project, and you create the project yourself, direct it, you're hiring other people, you're supporting and raising up that community, you've actually just contributed to your track record and your demo reel. So I would say don't wait and just do it. Try to do a little bit of DIY yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, a few of you mentioned networking. Is there a specific outlet or event or organization that you guys have found the most success for networking? Anyone can start.
Maybe I'll quickly jump in and just say FAVA here in Edmonton is a wonderful organization to connect with. Depending at what stage in your career you're at, Banff World Media Festival is just around the corner. It's a great place to network.
Fantastic.
I'm going to have to agree with Nazanin on FAVA. It's probably our best bet as far as networking goes. Banff would be another, but FAVA's accessible.
Yeah, okay.
And so you can really learn, meet some people, but learn some basics, right? You'd be surprised, what you can learn there. So I definitely encourage. And I know that in Calgary, there's sort of like a FAVA. I'm forgetting the name, but it's kind of like that, where you have it's like they have these courses and there's also access to equipment and space and events that they put on.
Okay. Yeah. Toyin or Otto, anything to add to that one?
Yeah, actually, there's a creative mixer happening on Wednesday, put on by the Alcove artists. Multidisciplinary artists usually go, and it's a super warm, welcoming environment. So at Truck Contemporary Art, yeah.
Fantastic. And then what Donna was talking about, it's the Canadian Society of Independent Film, CSIF.
I have never I've never worked with them.
Okay.
But I hear that they're similar to the concept is kind of the same as FAVA.
Okay. Fantastic. Toyin?
Yep, CSIF is amazing, and depending on what you do and the kind of art you do, Calgary Arts Development would usually have different events, like Living the Creative Life sessions and things like that. You want to be a part of that because there are so many individuals that would be there that would show up, and you can always, depending on the kind of person you're looking for, feel free to network. Yeah, it's like a hub for all forms of art in the city, so it's a great place to be.
Fantastic. Now, before we have to go, I'd like to make sure everybody has time to add anything else that they'd like to talk about. So no question in particular. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this discussion? Nazanin, I'll start with you.
Nothing to add. I just wanted to say thank you. It's been such a privilege and so inspirational to be surrounded by these creative minds. And I look forward to following all of you and your creative journeys.
Oh, same to you, Nazanin. Thank you. Otto?
Same thing. I don't have anything else to say. It's nice to speak and to hear everyone saying things that kind of echo and take the conversation in a different direction. So it was really nice to be a part of this.
Fantastic. We're so happy to have you. Toyin?
Yeah, thank you. It was pretty chilled. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm glad. But I'm glad I was able to hear from all of you, learn from all of you, and you would probably hear from me. I would always reach out if I need some sort of support that has to do with your industry and what you do. So very nice to meet all of you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. And Donna?
Well, thank you. Nothing to add except that I was in lovely company today. It was a great hour. Best probably going to be the best hour today. It's a very busy day. This was absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for all your insights. I do look forward to following you on your journeys and for us to connect again, because it is always nice to form this community. Again, thank you so much for your insights. I really am. I'm actually very honored. Thank you.
I'm honored to be the host for all of you today as well. Like, this chat was so amazing. There was so much insight from each and every one of you. So thank you so much for joining us. And to our attendees, this webinar will be available at the Creatives Empowered's website, which is creativesempowered.ca. So once it's out, feel free to share it with your friends, your family, and your colleagues. And then feel free to also let us know of any other ideas for future webcasts. So thank you all once again. And on behalf of everyone at Creatives Empowered, I'm Jenny Steele. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.